What's going on, guys? This is episode number 21 of the Going for Two podcast with Jansen Hunter. I am your host, Hunter Waldrop, and this is my co-host slash producer slash best friend, Jansen Jasperson. How we doing today, brother?
Doing great, man. College football is kicking into the best time that we've all been waiting for, the national championship game. The old TCU Horned Frogs taking on our Georgia Bulldogs, defending champions. We had some great games in the semis that we're going to cover. And, man, I'm just excited. This is a great time of the year. So,
Yeah, man. This season has definitely flown by super, super, super fast.
kind of sad.
It's sad to see it go by, but I'm excited for the national championship. And college football never dies. We're still gonna have the portal. We're still gonna have, you know, recruiting, all the offseason stuff, coaching changes, but this podcast ain't going anywhere. I know we got some NFL, some March Madness. We'll talk about some college football too. We're gonna have a good time, and yeah, man. But I'm excited. I'm sad to see the season just in a snap of fingers gone. But I'm excited for this Monday, man. This is why we play the games. This is what it all leads up to. So let's
You're
hop
right.
right on into it.
Well, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Going for Two podcast with Jansen and Hunter. Once you subscribe, there'll be an option for you to turn on the notification bells. Go ahead and click that bell, and then you'll be alerted when we drop our new episode. Normally, we drop every Wednesday, but recently, with my girlfriend being in town and working and all Christmas and holidays and stuff, we kind of
Travel.
had to jump around each other's schedules and see where it fits in. So, once we get back into the swing of things, we'll try to get back on every Wednesday and get them out every Wednesday. And then once you turn on that bell, you will be notified. And make sure that you follow us on Twitter at going_for2. Hunter and I will get on there and we'll chat about the national championship game. And it's a great way to be in touch with you guys and just talk about, like, if you have questions for us, you can ask us on Twitter. You can ask us in the comment section, and we will make our best effort to answer them.
That's right.
So if you
That's
could give
right.
a subscription on YouTube and a follow on Twitter, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right.
So first thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about the NY6 bowl games. Just a quick recap, because obviously we got to talk about the Fiesta Bowl, the Peach Bowl, and then preview the national championship. A lot of stuff to get into. So most of these games all happened about a week ago, and then the last two being USC, Tulane, and then Utah and Penn State happened on Monday of this past week. So just about right at a week. But the first game was the number 6 Tennessee Volunteers took on the number 7 Clemson Tigers in Miami, Florida for the Orange Bowl, and this game was never really in doubt. Tennessee manhandled Clemson. Cade Klubnik, man, he was struggling. He was struggling. Tennessee, I will say, I was very, very impressed by the pass rush and by the secondary. I was not Clemson, man. I really thought this was going to be like Cade Klubnik's if it's first start, he's going to show out just like he did against North Carolina, and he just was not there. They could not get anything going. I think Clemson was in the red zone 12 times in the first half and came away with 3 points or one, no, 0. They came away with 0 points in 12 red zone trips at one
That's
point.
embarrassing.
Yeah, I think Klubnik, like most teams, don't get to run 75 plays. But with Tennessee's fast tempo offense, that allows for more plays to be played by both teams.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the total number of plays, but I'm pretty sure Klubnik accounted for 73 of the plays. He either was a ball carrier or attempted a pass in 73 plays, and he only put up 14 points. Man, the future for Clemson's it's looking very questionable. I haven't seen them do anything in the portal still. They do recruit pretty solidly. I'm in the middle about them. They don't
I
have that
mean,
perfect
we
wide
talked
receiver
about
field. There's just a lot of stuff.
Dabo, and we talked about how he's this. He hates the portal, and he hates people that aren't. If you aren't committed to Clemson straight out of the gate, then he doesn't want you. And I honestly think that's going to come back to bite him in the butt because, like, in today's college football world, you have to use the portal to your advantage. And if you don't, you're not going to be anything like a Alabama or a Georgia or a USC or a Penn State or Utah or any of these teams that you see, like any of these big, even Tennessee, like you aren't going to be as good as these programs because they're using the portal to their advantage. And I honestly think that if Dabo sat DJ earlier in the year, I think that Clemson could have won this game. I'm not going to go out and say that, oh, they would have won this game, but I think they would have had a better shot because you give Cade Klubnik more first team reps. And I feel like if you give him more first team reps, he builds more confidence and he builds a better relationship with his players around him. And I feel like if I was to blame this on anybody, I'm going to blame this on Dabo
Yeah.
because
Well,
it's all on him.
I have a whole Dabo Swinney rant, and I'm gonna try not to get too much into it. But like another thing that sticks out to me is hiring coordinators. Okay, so Clemson had a reputation, especially when they won the two natties. They were like had an argument for at the time being, the top program, but I still probably would have been Alabama, but they were top two, no doubt. Um, and anybody he could go handpick anybody he wanted to go be his coordinators for both offense and defense. And then this year, Tony Elliott leaves, head coach of Virginia, Brett Venables, head coach at Oklahoma. And instead of going out and finding coordinators, he just went down his coach's roster and he hired within the program. And I think both those people, Wes Goodwin being the defensive coordinator and Brandon Streeter being the offensive coordinator, neither one of them were qualified. And I think he needs to go find coaches. But like you said, he's very big on if you're not all in, and if you haven't been with Clemson since day one, then he's not interested, which I think that's just pure stubbornness. Like you said, I don't think he's going to accelerate at this next level of college football that we're getting into. But enough about Clemson. Shout out Joe Milton, absolute cannon, rocket arm. It's fun. It is so fun watching him throw the football just like with ease, man. It's like every time I looked up,
it went 60 yards.
it's like every time I looked up at the TV, the ball was floating in the air about 60 yards down the field. And I mean, he hit some of those big plays. They ran the ball solidly. Jabari Small, man, he's pretty underrated SEC running back, if you ask me. Heupel, this is big. This is a huge year for Josh Heupel and the Volunteers. They'll finish within the top 5, I'm pretty sure, top 6 at least. And shout out to the Vols. They won the Orange Bowl, great season, finished 11-2, and that's huge for them. And hopefully they can continue to build off this. So enough about that one. We'll move over to New Orleans in the All-State Sugar Bowl. Number 5 Alabama versus number 9 Kansas State. This is the best I've ever seen Bryce Young play.
I mean, he had something to prove.
In a win with Alabama. And I just wanted to give a shout out to him and Will Anderson and some of the other Bama players who played in their bowl game when they both could have opted out because they both know they're going to be lottery draft picks in the draft, probably both top 10 picks. And they stuck it out and played, and that's just who they are. And I can't give as somebody who's against opting out, I can't give them enough credit for that. And I think he had 5 touchdown passes in the first half or something crazy. Like at one point, I think this game was actually like 10 or 13-0 Kansas State, and then there wasn't a lot left after that. Deuce Vaughn did break like one 86-yard touchdown run, and besides that, man, Bama was Bama. They got the win, and they finished the year 11-2 as well, and All-State Sugar Bowl champs. I ain't got a whole lot to say about it.
The only thing I have to say is, if I was Michigan going into this game, or if I went to Michigan and played on the Michigan football team, and I watched this game, I would have thought, holy we're going to beat the living crap out of TCU today, because it's like, if Alabama did that to Kansas State and Kansas State did what they did to TCU, like, what is TCU? But honestly, I mean, we know how that went.
Yeah,
but
we'll do that in a second.
I think that this game was kind of like Nick Saban getting his because he didn't get in, and this was kind of a moment for them to be like, okay, like, yeah, we didn't get in, but we deserve to get in. We're going to show you that we deserve to get in, and they did. They beat Kansas State by 25, and Bryce Young played absolutely out of his mind, and looks like he'll be the first pick in the draft. So,
nah, he won't be first. He'll be the 3rd quarterback off the board. But topic for another day. Um, yeah, he'll be the third QB off the board.
Let
But
let the Texans tank again.
yeah,
Like Davis.
what was I getting at with this one? Oh gosh, I had a good punchline, but I think I've lost it. Oh yeah, no, I got it. So I'm not trying to be devil's advocate here, but like college football, you get a different team every week. And that Kansas State team when they played TCU was a different team than when they played Alabama.
Yep.
I know Alabama had like what 15, 16 players who didn't play in this game from their original roster, so that's not a good look on the Big 12. But once again, it's all about matchups. We all know Saban recruits at a high level. And it's all about matchups and personnel when it comes to different types of games when teams match up. So obviously this matchup was not good for Kansas State, but the way TCU plays and their personnel, it was a good matchup, and that's why both of their games were close.
Yeah.
But that's also a topic for another day. I know we got a lot to say, so I'm going to try and rattle through this. But hey, Tulane, these are our boys that we've been riding all year. I think they finished like an 87% cover rate.
You know why they're called the Green Wave, right? Because all they do is print money.
Yeah, they do. I was all over the Tulane money line this game. Ended up putting $50 on it, and they cashed out for me with a crazy game. This is an awesome game. Not TCU, Tulane. They never backed down. They were down like 14 early, and they just kept fighting, and they stuck around. And then just like we saw in the Pac-12 championship game, USC's defense just kind of let them get back into it. And then next thing you know, Tulane goes on a scoring drive. But hey, shout out to that running back. I forgot his name. But that boy for
Oh
Tulane,
yeah, he's
he's a
crazy.
dog. He is good, and he has potential. If he gets in the right system in the NFL, he could show flashes of good talent. Um, but yeah, man, shout out Willie Fritz. They went 2-10 last year, and then they finished this season 12-2.
And 12-2.
So
Now, that's incredible. And you beat USC. And
yeah, and they beat USC, the Pac-12 runner-up. And it all came down to that last drive. They just kept on driving, kept believing, and you know, um, their team of the year, their Group of Five team of the year in my heart. So, and I guess
oh yeah, for
on
sure.
reality, but shout out Green Wave. We had to mention them in this game. But we'll just keep rolling on to this. This game was not close. I know it says it was a 14-point game. Utah
No.
scored a touchdown late, like I think under a minute left in the game. Uh, Penn State rolled them. It was never
Just
really
killed
close.
them.
I wanted to laugh at Herb Street and Fowler for 1 second. So Cam Rising went out, the quarterback for Utah. He went out in the third quarter with a knee injury, and they were talking about how he's persevered through so much and this, that, and the other, and he was playing a great game, which he has persevered through a lot throughout his 25 years he's been at Utah. It feels like, but uh, no, he got hurt, and they showed his stats, and after they just made a comment he'd been playing good, and he was like 8 for 21 with like 106 yards, a touchdown, and like a pick or two picks or something. I was like, I don't think he's been playing too good, but
Yeah, he
you could
played
definitely
like dog
tell
water.
the team morale when he went out. Utah, oof, they really started playing bad, and that backup's got a lot of progressing to do. But shout out Penn State getting the win. This was Sean Clifford's going away party. They'll probably finish in the top 10 this year. They also went 10-2 or 11-2. Yeah, they finished 11-2 because their only two losses were to Michigan and Ohio State. James Franklin needed this Rose Bowl win. It's going to be interesting. So everybody's question for Penn State leaning into next year's, I forget the kid's name because I just don't follow recruiting too well, but their backup quarterback now, I think he's going to be a sophomore or junior, and he was like highly touted prospect. And everybody's question is going to be, can he be the one to get him over the hump? Can he be the one to beat Ohio State? Can he be the one to beat Michigan? Can he be the one to get them to the Big Ten championship and go to the playoff? So
Well, did I see something that James Franklin's leaving?
no,
No. Yeah.
no, no, he just got a contract extension last year, 2 years
Oh,
ago.
okay, I got you.
No, he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. So
Well, if the rumors are true about Harbaugh and he leaves, then I think Penn State's got a chance at the.
yeah, me too. Me too. We'll get into the Michigan allegations on a later date, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think he will end up leaving. So, but that
But
was it for these 4 New Year's Six games. Congratulations to all these teams for making it, and yeah,
on a great year too.
yeah, great year. So let's get into the Fiesta Bowl, brother.
All right. Oh man,
Man,
I'm just
shootout
gonna go
game.
out and say it: the game of the year.
Whoa, did you not watch the game that was after this one?
Hey, I think this. I don't. Yeah, I did,
I
but
still think Bama Tennessee
I
might be
just
the
didn't
game of the year.
enjoy. I just didn't enjoy the game after this one because it shouldn't have been that close.
I understand, but yeah, the number 3 Horned Frogs of TCU played the number 2 Wolverines of Michigan. Traveled on to Glendale, Arizona, home of the Arizona Cardinals, to play in the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. And man, TCU started out strong. I think they got up to a 21-3 lead or 21-7 lead early. And they just like TCU, their motto all year, or not, I shouldn't say their motto, but like the way they've won games is get down early and then come back and win. But it was quite the opposite. They got up early and they let Michigan crawl back in, just, too little too late for the Wolverines, which
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. I thought it was going to be roles reversed coming into this game. I thought it was going to be Michigan get up early and then TCU is going to fight, 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 and it's just going to be a little too late. And it was actually a little bit different. But hey, Max Duggan, man, oh my gosh,
absolute dog.
he's so dynamic, legs throwing. Quentin Johnson, dog. He's going to be. I think he might be one of the first receivers off the
I think
board.
he'll be the first receiver taken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too. But man, that first play of the game, Donovan Edwards broke one off for about 70 yards, and then Michigan couldn't punch it in. They didn't get a single point out of it. And then Roman Wilson catches that touchdown pass, and then it gets called back at the 1, and then they fumble the ball on the 1-inch line. And they could not catch a break any other way. I know they had 2 pick sixes. I think they had 2 fumbles.
Well, didn't they have like a fumble recovery or something, and then the ref spotted it wrong?
No, I don't know. Maybe. What the one I'm referring to is when I know JJ threw 2 pick sixes, and then
So it was the play. It was the play before the JJ's ball that should have been a touchdown, but got stopped at the 1.
yeah.
The play before that, they held him back like 2 yards of what they were supposed to have.
Oh,
And
okay.
people are saying if they got those 2 yards, he would have been in the end zone.
Oh, I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I was tailgating the Georgia Ohio State game at Mercedes Benz, so I didn't get to watch every single play of this game. Now I have watched the ESPN highlights on YouTube like at least 5 or 6 times just to kind of break down the film. And man, like this is just something like about TCU is like, yeah, they might not be as big or physical up front, but man, they're gonna find a way. They got those dogs in them. And they were just, they were pushing Michigan's front 7 around on the defensive side. Um, and I mean, turnovers, just at the end of the day, that's what cost Michigan. Obviously they gave TCU 21 points in turnovers.
Yeah, they did.
So that doesn't help at all. Um, JJ was a little careless with the ball. I think if Michigan, they and it felt like until the end of the game they didn't like play their game, like they didn't use JJ's feet like they had been all year. They used their running backs, and yeah, they've used a play action pass to Roman Wilson, and then I forget what the other receiver's name is, but he's very good. I forget his name though. They're both small.
I
I
know who you're
forgot.
talking about.
Yeah, but they both were very impactful on the field. But JJ didn't use his feet, and they were throwing the ball a little bit more than I would have liked. I felt like they got away with their game. They got a little too cute, and TCU made them pay, man. And then I think the stab through the heart where I really just didn't think Michigan was going to come back from it was when it was 3rd and 7. TCU's on their side of the field. If Michigan gets a stop, they're going to tie the game and potentially take the lead. And they get home on Duggan. They were there, and he just rolls out and throws a little dump pass, and Quentin Johnson's coming across the middle. And they played cover 0 there. They were all in man coverage because they brought everybody. And one man to beat. He broke his tackle,
to the
76
house.
yards to the touchdown or to the house. Yeah, like you said. And I think that
That
was
that that Max Duggan play was like a Pat Mahomes play. He like threw it sideways on the ground.
oh yeah, like
Yeah,
he was yeah, that was crazy. And shout out to the Hypnotoads, man. Jim Harbaugh's now, I don't know if they said 1-6 or 0-6 in bowl games. That's a little issue. Kind of
he's
reminds me of Brian
0-6 in bowl
Can't
games.
win
Yeah.
no New Year's Six bowl games. Um, they do really good in the regular season, but man, this was the year for Michigan. This was the most opportune time for them, and they couldn't quite get it done. And TCU, first team from Texas to make it to the college football playoff, they are now on their way to the to LA to go play in the national championship. So that's going to be an interesting game. We'll break that one down here in a second. But man, uh, the future for Michigan is definitely uncertain right now. Recruiting violations going on, possibly. Nobody's exactly sure what the whole situation is going to be, but I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, if Harbaugh leaves, then Michigan will get busted. That's a sign that they're about to get busted, and there's no telling what kind of suspensions they'll receive. Who knows? Um, but the future for TCU, man, not only are they going to play for a national championship, 200 to 1 odds to make it there. So that's crazy. Pick seventh in their own conference, but we'll talk more about the frogs. But
The
man,
the thing I want to say about TCU though is with them doing this year, you know how much media attention they're going to get?
yeah, they already are. But the thing that I want to point out,
I don't know. I feel like next year they're going to get way more media attention than they did this year,
oh
and I
no
feel
doubt,
like
yeah, and I think the
it's
future's
either
bright. They're
going to
bringing in some good
make or break
transfers.
them. So
Like they're bringing in JoJo Earl and Trey Sanders from Alabama from the portal. That's very good.
yeah, that's huge.
Um,
JoJo Earl, yeah.
yeah, Max Duggan's going to be gone, and then Chandler Morris will be their starting quarterback. He's pretty solid, but we'll get into to the frogs here in a little bit. So we'll see, man. But great game. I mean, this is an
Yeah,
awesome college football playoff game. This is what you expect out of a college football playoff
this
game.
this college football weekend was the greatest college football weekend I've ever seen in
Yeah, and I think TCU proved that
years.
they did have a case and they did deserve to be there. Just because they didn't win their conference championship, whatever. Like I said, it's all about matchups, man, and it's about what team shows up on what day. And I think they proved that they're supposed to be there.
I
So,
think so too.
yep.
I think so
So
too.
we'll head on into the.
Well, let's get into the dumpster fire.
Oh my gosh! Wow, this game, man. Oh my gosh. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack and liver failure all at the same time sitting in these stands. Y'all have no idea. And I will say, I remember saying on the pod last week, I wasn't sure how many Ohio State fans were gonna be there because I remember in the 2017 national championship when I was there, it was Georgia versus Alabama. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be like SEC championship. It's gonna be like 50-50, 60-40. And I was there in 2017 and it was like 85% Georgia. And I thought that's kind of how it was going to be in this one. But I'd say it was probably about 60-40.
A lot of
Ohio
Ohio
State
State
fans,
fans.
they showed up, man. They
Yeah,
showed up and deservingly so. They proved me wrong. The team did, I should say. Their offensive line kept them in it. But here's the thing. Here's the main thing I pointed out about this game that um, that just didn't happen, and it changed the whole perplexion of the game, and this is why it was so close. So the main thing I said was Stroud. He sits in the back of his drop. He always has a comfortable pocket. He doesn't have to face a lot of tough pass rushes, and he doesn't, use his legs like he should. Well, something clicked in the past month, and CJ Stroud moved around the pocket, used his legs, made time, and made big time throws.
yeah,
And he proved that I think he should be the number one QB off the board, but he'll probably be number two based off what I'm seeing from like Mel Kiper and Todd McShay or whatever.
yeah.
But we're not here to talk about the draft. But man, this was the career game for CJ Stroud. I think it's the best game he's ever played. And not only was he moving around in the pocket making throws, but he also would get out of the pocket when everybody was accounted for and he'd pick up, 25, 30 yards on the ground. And that's just something we had not seen out of him all his whole career. And that wasn't on the scouting report, and he became a dual threat, and Georgia struggled with that. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, the secondary was playing bad and this, that, and the other, and that's why, he was throwing it down the field. For some of the cases, yeah. But if you look at both touchdown throws in the first quarter to Marvin Harrison, Georgia had a sack opportunities both times. They whiffed. CJ Stroud moves around the pocket, makes a play with his legs, and it's a lot harder to cover a talented receiver like Marvin Harrison for 7 to 8 seconds rather than 3 to 4 seconds. Because if you look at the film and you're looking, like you're on the field level and you see, or the sky level and you see, these boys were covered for the time they need to be covered for a pass rush to get home. But once the pass rush doesn't get home and they start playing backyard ball and he's directing traffic with his hands, it's a lot harder to do that. You don't know where the receiver's gonna go, and it's harder to cover somebody like that. So I don't think this necessarily was a, secondary issue. I mean, it wasn't good, but it wasn't as big of an issue as the pass rush not getting home and Stroud making chaos with his legs. So shout out to Stroud. I just want to say that. I think Ohio State's defense had more sacks than Georgia's. I think they had one or two more. We did get home a few times. Like that was a big sack in the fourth quarter when they were going to run a screen pass, and then Jermaine Johnson got home right in his face. There was nowhere he could go with that. Stroud didn't turn the ball over. Georgia only gave up 7 points in turnovers, which was still more than we've seen in a long time. But this is like you said, this is why you play the game. This is college football, man. Everybody thought Georgia was going to blow them out. That's what it said on paper, and that was the last thing we saw. But this is why you play them, because stuff like this can happen. In Ohio State,
it makes sense because it makes no sense.
Ohio State literally a 50-yard field goal away from making it, and the kicker just crashes under pressure.
And honestly, if you go and look at the play from like the sideline view, the kick from the sideline view, I don't know who it was, but I want to say, I don't know the guy's name, and I don't want to say it wrong, but if you look, the guy is so high in the air with his arms up that if the ball went straight, I think it would go straight in the guy's face mask. I don't think that.
Oh, I ain't even really paid attention to it. I think it's funny how the same time that ball hit the ground,
it struck midnight.
It struck midnight.
Yep.
That was pretty cool. And I'm gonna be honest, I was sitting in the stands, and this was me. I was just sitting here like this. I couldn't watch it, man. I was saying a prayer. I was praying out loud. I was, and it, dogs prevailed. They showed enough fight, and that's just the thing about this Georgia team, man. And we'll talk about it more for the national championship preview. They were down, was it 17 points, 16 points, at least 14. I know that.
They were down 21 at one point, I thought.
No, I don't think they were ever down 21. I think they were on the max they were ever down was like 17, 16, something like that. But they were down, what was it? I can't even remember off the top of my head. But they were down a lot of points, like 38 to 27. They were down 11, or 38 to 24 with 8 minutes left in the game, 9 minutes left, and they found a way to win.
Aaron Smith.
They found a way to win. Stetson Bennett, I will say this. It looked like he was trying to play too much hero ball the first 3 quarters, especially the third quarter. I think they only completed 1 pass in the third quarter. He was playing way too much hero ball, trying to do too much. But then in that 2-minute drill at the end of the game, that last drive,
he was locked in. He was ready to go.
He was just playing ball, man. He just let loose. And if he can just let loose and play ball in this next game, it's going to be very difficult for TCU to come out on top. But I will give Ohio State's offensive line a lot of credit for holding Georgia to only 2 or 3 sacks.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
And for anybody that says Ohio State wins with Marvin Harrison, well, too damn bad they didn't have him. Okay, because everybody has injuries in college football.
And whoever said that was targeting.
Yeah, and whoever says that was targeting. Well, you know what? I guess somebody can make an argument for it, but I don't think the hit on.
I don't think you can make an argument for that at all. He led with his shoulder and he hit him in the shoulder.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Okay, but they're just saying defenseless players, but I don't think the hit on
He's
Justin
going for the
Fields in
ball.
2020, Clemson Ohio State Sugar Bowl in 2020. I don't think that was targeting.
I
He
don't
didn't
think so either.
like I'm against the whole thing. But everybody has to deal with injuries. You know, we were without AD Mitchell all year. We were
Nolan
without
Smith.
Arian Smith all year. We were out with Lad McConkey this year. We were out with Darnell Washington after the first quarter.
I mean,
You know, everybody
we didn't
deals
have
with
our
injuries.
freaking number one defensive end. We didn't have Nolan Smith. Like,
Yeah, everybody
that,
deals with injuries. So, you know what? Too damn bad he got hurt.
yep,
You never know. Maybe they would have won, maybe they wouldn't have. I don't care because he didn't play. He was injured, and it's just part of football. Everybody has injuries. Um, Glad I got that off my chest. But this is an amazing game, and I'm glad I got to be there for it. Um, Georgia, 14-0, going for back-to-back national titles, first time since 2011, 2012. Nick
Nick
Saban did it.
Saban did it. Yep.
But before we get into the whole, preview for that game, I'll just go, through Ohio State. Their future's looking good. I know Stroud's leaving, but besides Stroud, they're bringing back a lot of talent. I think you're going to get a lot more, defensive talent. I think they are losing a decent amount of people, big boys up front, but nothing they can't replace. They recruit at a pretty high level.
Better than Michigan.
And we'll just, Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud obviously leaving. I forget the kid that's going to replace him next year, but I don't care. It's Ohio State. They're going to protect him. They're going to have the best receivers in the country, and he's going to do just fine.
Yep.
I think it's going to be between them and Penn State and Michigan again next year, barring Michigan recruiting violations. So Ohio State, they're not going to go anywhere. They proved me wrong. They were physical. They stuck around in it, and they probably deserved it throughout, 3.5 quarters of football to win this game. But at the end of the day, you got to deserve it through 4. And Georgia,
You got to play all four. Yeah.
that's right. So that's what I got on this one. Anything else you need to add, brother?
Nothing much other than, man, I thought that this game was going to be a like not as big of a dog fight as it was, but I mean, because with it being in Atlanta and having all Georgia fans there, and I didn't know how Ohio State fans traveled, and you said that they traveled pretty well, and honestly, disappointed in Georgia, but not too disappointed because they got the job done. But just disappointed because I took the 25 that I put on TCU to win, which paid out to like 70, and then 50 on their plus 7.5. I took all those winnings and I put it on Georgia -5. So I got screwed.
Life of a sports gambler.
Exactly. You're up 1
Oh,
second and then the next you're down. So
that's right.
it happens. But I'm excited to see what the Bulldogs are going to show in the national championship against, I think, a very, very underrated TCU team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's hop right on into it, brother.
All right.
All right. The national championship game for the 2022 season. The number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. They will be the home team as the number 1 seed, 12.5-point favorites, taking on the number 3 TCU Horned Frogs. In SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Let me just get this off my chest. As a Georgia fan making the travel to this game, me and SoFi, we're gonna have it out. How are you gonna tell me I can't tailgate?
You're tailgating.
They're
Don't let
gonna
those
say no
liberal
RVs,
communists.
no tailgating. It might not be me, but you mess with the wrong Georgia fan that's already been pre-gaming the tailgate, like some dumb redneck that spent every dime that he's ever saved up to come make this trip, and try and tell him he can't tailgate. It's gonna be a bad day. Same thing with a bunch of Texans. You don't mess with
Oh,
these. You
yeah.
don't mess with these people from the South, man.
No.
But that's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting experience to see how that all works out. Um, that's BS. You should be able to tailgate. But
You know what
whatever.
else is BS?
I think this should be the last time SoFi ever host a playoff game or a national championship because this is BS. That is communism at its finest. Okay, I hate it.
You know what else is BS?
What?
Somebody put freaking Uggo in a truck and drive him to SoFi right now.
Don't even get me started. That's like already bad
Right
mojo for
now.
me this game. Look, I think you would think the university would pay for him to get like his own private jet to fly out there. But like I've heard rumors that he's not doing well, and they're just trying to cover up that like he's about to die soon, and that's why his health isn't good, and that's
He's
why he's
not
not making
wrong.
the trip. But like, can somebody just buy a fake Ugga, name it Ugga, and put it on the field? Like somebody, because like it's bad mojo. I
Yeah.
hate that.
If anybody in
Um,
California is watching this and you have an English bulldog, let us borrow it for the day.
yeah, yeah. Let us borrow Ugga, please.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm very thankful for this opportunity. Like if I like I'm going and Uga's not, you know what I'm saying? So that's gonna be interesting. So yeah, going for 2 pods, going to the Natty or one half of it at least.
Yeah, one half. That'll be sick.
Anyways, man, this is gonna be an interesting game. Um, I'll just kind of give a preview. Like I said, TCU predicted to finish 7th out of 10 in the Big 12 this year, projected to go 5-7, 4-8, and look at them now. They are 13-1.
They're here.
They did not. They made their Big 12 championship. They went undefeated in the regular season. You know, underdogs against Michigan. They've been underdogs all year. Everybody's doubting them, and I think if they do find a way to pull this game out, people will still be doubting them, which is just interesting to me. But Max Duggan was not even the starter for game one of this for this team. He was not supposed to start this year. It was supposed to be Chandler Morris. Chandler Morris goes down with a knee injury in week one against Colorado. Insert Max Duggan, Heisman finalist. I mean, you can't, and like this, everybody knows the story about Stetson Bennett being the walk on. Like, so either way, whoever wins, the story's going to be great.
It would
Georgia,
be even better if Georgia won.
yeah, no doubt. Georgia, they're 13, well, no, 14-0 now. Peach Bowl champions, SEC champions, first time they won the SEC since 2017. So this team's trying to cement its own legacy. A lot of these players, especially on defense, were not a part of this team last year. They're trying to cement their own legacy, be their own team. The team last year didn't win the SEC. They lost a game. They didn't finish with the undefeated season. So I think that's what's, driving the motive. And another thing is like after the game, you ask Kirby Smart, how do you think your boys did? And, how do you think Stetson Bennett did? He's like, he's got to play better. If we want to win the next one, he's got to play better. And Stetson Bennett knows it. He's like, yeah, I played bad. And I think that's what separates. So I think the standard is so high at the University of Georgia. It's just unbearable.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing: TCU, 12.5-point underdogs, biggest college football playoff national championship spread ever. They don't care. They don't care.
No.
They're just going to go out there and play the game. Like, yeah, on paper, Georgia's supposed to blow them out. They don't care. That's on paper. I promise you, TCU is going to show up to SoFi Stadium and they're going to play this game, and we're going to find out. Just like they showed up to the Fiesta Bowl and they played the game, and we found out.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think.
We'll see.
Actually, honestly,
I think it will be closer.
I think it'll be close, but I don't
Some
think it's
people
going
are
to be
thinking
the
like it's
Ohio
going to
State
be a
game.
huge blowout, but we'll see. It's all, like I said, man, it's all about matchups. So let's go ahead. I'm going to break it down before we get to our score prediction. So the big padlock stat that sticks out to me about this game is that Georgia's offensive line is 7th in the nation in pressures allowed, meaning Stetson Bennett usually has a lot of time to throw. Okay. And TCU is 100th in pressure generated out of 130 teams. So they don't get home on the quarterback a lot. If Georgia wants to win this game, they can't do it in typical Georgia fashion where they just need to wear out the team and run the ball a lot. Like, yes, you need to incorporate a run game. I don't disagree with that. But with a stat like that, and with a tight end like Brock Bowers and a track star receiver in Arian Smith, and a big offensive line that's going to protect your quarterback, you have the potential to torch the secondary, kind of like Stroud did, where if you give Stetson enough time in the pocket, he can direct traffic, and they can kind of play a little bit backyard ball, and they can sling it, and they have that type of potential. So I think if that's going to be Georgia's biggest key, is as far as a entire game plan, is can they sling it, and can they do it consistently, and then play by play. I think if you see Georgia starting out 2nd down and 6 or better every drive, it's going to be a long one for TCU. But if TCU can hold them to 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 7, and 2nd and 6 sometimes even. But if Georgia's picking up, on those first downs, 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, it's going to be a long day.
I think so too.
And here's another thing, like I mentioned it as well, and this is something about both teams, but like even if TCU gets out to a lead like they did against Michigan, we saw Georgia, man, they're not going to back out. They're not going anywhere. They're not, unless they just all get COVID before the game or something. Knock on wood. They're not going anywhere. But same thing with TCU. We've seen it all year. They go down early in the first half, and they're going to fight back in the second half, man. The equivalent to Marvin Harrison Jr. would be Quentin Johnston. He's a dog, man. He's a big boy. He's fast. If Georgia can, I don't know if it's going to be Keely Ringo, if we're going to do a lot of, zone coverage like we did against Ohio State. I'm not sure. But I feel like you can hold him. Georgia only allows 77 yards per game on the ground this year. So I don't think running the ball is going to be the way to victory for TCU. Now, do you need to try and establish a run game? Yes, you do, just like every team does.
But the thing that scares me is I don't know if we're going to have a run game. Because look what the number one run team did against them. Not a dang thing.
Like I said, turnovers though, man. Michigan was in the red zone a lot and came away with only 3 points.
Yeah, true.
I think in the first half they got in the red zone 5 or 6 times and only scored 3 points when they were in the red zone. That's not
but
good.
you got honestly,
and just like
credit for that to anybody, I'm going to give it to TCU because they got
no doubt.
They got down and dirty when they needed to. So
And here's another. You made me think of a good point right here. Michigan was relying on field goals. I think they had 9 or 12 points in field goals. You can't win college football playoff games by kicking a bunch of field goals. We saw it in the Ohio State-Georgia game. They had their last 2 or 3 possessions where they did score. They were all field goals, 6 points in field goals, 9 points in field goals. I think it was 6. You can't win these games by kicking field goals. This goes for Georgia. This goes for TCU. You're going to have to find ways to punch the ball into the end zone. I will say this. I think, later towards the end of the game, Brock Bowers got more involved, but we can't be waiting that long to get Brock Bowers involved. Hand him off the ball, run him a screen. I don't care. He's got to touch the ball more. I don't think I'm going to give Ohio State credit here. They, handled him pretty well, but I also am going to, dog on Todd Monken a little bit. I don't feel like he designed plays good enough or called specific plays in that game to get Bowers open enough. As far as defensive goes, we're going to find out in the first half. I'll just say that. If TCU can punch Georgia in the mouth for 2 quarters straight, it's going to be a dogfight.
Oh, yeah.
If Georgia's defensive front punches TCU in the mouth and TCU's offensive line kind of backs off like we don't want none of this and we can't hang with them, and they get it in their mind they can't hang with them, it's going to be a long game for the Horned Frogs. Yeah.
It's going to be ugly.
So, but this game can go a bunch of different ways. I think, not settling for field goals. Georgia needs to create time, and then Max Duggan's got to play backyard ball when pressure does get home like he did a little bit against Michigan. I think those are 3 key factors for this game. So that's about what I have initially, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about it. If you got anything to add, go ahead, brother.
The thing that I'm kind of worried about is Quentin Johnston on having Keely guard him, because I wasn't impressed with what Keely did against Marvin Harrison, and I think that it is debatable, but Johnston might be better than Harrison. So,
nah, he's not as fast, I don't think, but he's better maybe one-on-one, jump ball possession wise. But Georgia also ran a bunch of switch coverage zone, man. They weren't running a bunch of press man. And it wasn't all Keely. That first touchdown, the 31-yard touchdown to Stroud threw in the first quarter was it was Malachi Starks. And it was kind of like I said, that was also a play where we whiffed on a sack, and Starks had Harrison Jr. covered. Stroud makes a play with his legs and directs Harrison off of his route. He's supposed to break left. You can see it. He turns left for a second. He's looking back, and Stroud's directing him this way, makes a direct cut. Starks doesn't adjust fast enough, and then touchdown.
Touchdown. Yeah.
So
But
can't
I
allow
don't know.
stuff like
Like
that to
I,
happen.
I think I think you're gonna find out how this game is gonna go in the first drive.
I'll say first quarter, you'll find out pretty dang quick. You'll find it's whoever. If TCU and their
It's
front
whenever
sevens,
TCU has the ball first, that's when you're gonna find out who's gonna
if
win
their
the game.
offensive line gets hit in the mouth, they're gonna have a choice.
They're gonna have a
They're
hard
like,
time.
oh, we can play with these guys, and it's gonna be a dogfight, or it's gonna be, oh gosh, I don't know
We
if we
can't
can play
hold
with
these
these
guys.
guys, and they're gonna be And I don't think that their offensive line is as good as Ohio State's. Just my personal opinion, but
They're not big. They're not as big.
you know what? Sometimes, like,
It's not about size because look what their
yeah,
defensive
not
line
about,
did to Michigan's offensive line.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
So
So,
it'll be
if you want,
interesting.
it will. So let's head on over.
It'll be interesting.
This is what we got. I got 45-27. Jansen's got 41-28. We're right around in the same area. I just think with the lack of defense from TCU and Michigan scoring 45, while TCU can force 3 or 4 turnovers, I can't remember the exact number. It was 3. I know they had at least 3. I don't remember if they had a 4th or not. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Forcing that kind of turnovers, Michigan gives them 21 points on defense, and they still barely squeak out with a win. As long as Stetson Bennett doesn't make the same mistakes J.J. McCarthy did, if they take care of the ball, I think the physicality, I think the championship pedigree, and I think the game planning by Todd Monken and Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp, the coordinators, and just Georgia's been there before. They're trying to prove a point, and I just think the clock runs out on Cinderella's, on her little story. I think it's going to be over.
Hardy. Yeah. I think it's gonna be over too, and I think is Kirby Smart's gonna be back-to-back champion.
Yeah, he's going to be back to back. I think. I do have Georgia covering the 13.5 points.
Yeah, I got him covering 12.5. So
I know Vegas was off in the what was it called, the Peach Bowl, but it makes sense because everybody and their brother was on Georgia. Now this line,
everybody and their mama is on TCU.
yeah, this line opened up at 14. It's already dropped down to 12.5. Some place you
And
can
it's
get it
been
11.5. Vegas ain't. I don't know. They know there's a reason why it's 13.5. Okay, there's a reason for it.
90% of this money on the spread
It's on TCU.
is on TCU. Vegas
Yeah.
isn't going to let 90% of people win.
It's very rare whenever it does happen. I agree with that. But yeah, I just think Georgia, they're pissed off. They know that they got lucky with one. They got away with one. And TCU, like I said, man, they don't care that they're 13.5 point underdogs, or they don't care that Georgia's this big monster. Like, they're gonna play the game, and I think it's gonna be close for a while there. And I do think there'll just be kind of like, I don't know. I don't obviously the score that I show on the screen right now doesn't reflect what I'm about to say, but I feel like Georgia's gonna get out early and TCU's gonna start to climb back, and then it's gonna just get shut down. And then Georgia will pull away at the end. I originally had this score for everybody watching it. What was it, 51-34? I came down off my horse a little bit. I was like, man, they're gonna score a lot of points, but I got to thinking about it, and I was like, I don't think it'll be that high scoring. So I came down a little bit off my total. Um, but I still think the over is going to hit. I think, if you're looking for a best bet in this game, I think it's the
Take
over.
the over.
You can go ahead and show it on the next slide if you'd like. That is the Beer Deer pick of the week. Or maybe we should make it the Larry the Fish pick of the week right there. We are taking the Georgia Bulldogs right there. And but the pick of the week is the over 63.5 points in the Georgia TCU game. I just think, even if it's like a little bit of a dogfight and it's close, and I don't see a way where they don't touch 64 points. I don't know.
The way it's going to be a dogfight is it's going to be touchdown, and they answer, and then you score again, and then they answer again, and it's just going to go
Yeah.
back and forth like that. I don't think it's going to be a you smash them in the mouth, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game,
Yeah. I do too.
especially with how Sonny Dykes runs the Mike Leake special air raid offense. So
Oh, that's what I was gonna say earlier. Remember when I said I had a punchline and I couldn't remember what it was?
yeah,
Yeah, I remember what it was now. It's not really a
well,
punchline, but it was a thought. Do you know, like, how much pressure Sonny Dykes has put on every single first-year head coach after him?
a lot.
He took a team that was 5-7, projected 7th, finished 7th in their conference, didn't have a lot of talent on their team. If you look at, Fox Sports on Instagram, they broke down the, like, 5, 4, 3-star talent. There's not a lot. I think they had 1 5-star, 2 4 stars, and everybody else 3 stars and 2-star talent on their team. Um, and he took that team to the national championship in an undefeated regular season in their first year as a head coach.
So
So
it's
that
about players believing. I mean,
yeah. But
yeah,
if now that puts the pressure on coaches like Matt Rule at Nebraska, Hugh Freeze at Auburn, it's not gonna put pressure on Deion Sanders, well, because it's Deion Sanders,
it's
so
Dion.
yeah. But just I mean, man, shout out to Sonny Dykes. Yeah, you brought up a good point about, Mike Leach learned under him. Um, man, I for that one scenario, for that one reason, Mike Leach and Sonny Dykes, back in the day, if he were to mention something about it after the game, if they did pull out the win, I wouldn't even be mad. I wouldn't. But yeah. But oh, by the way, Bearder pick of the week last week was Mississippi State money line
Cha-ching!
for Mike Leach. And shout out to the Bulldogs of Mississippi State for wearing the pirate logo with Mike Leach's initials on the side of their helmet. That was awesome.
That
And the
was
thing
awesome.
is, this is the most Mike Leach finish I've ever seen. So Mississippi State was at kickoff 3.5-point favorites. They kicked the game-winning field goal with 4 seconds left, or there was 4 seconds left after that play, and they were winning by 3 points. So therefore, Illinois plus 3.5 is almost a mortal lock at that point, right? And then they start lateraling the ball, and the next thing you know, there's a fumble, and Mississippi State picks it up, takes it to the house, wins by 9 points, right? And they covered for 0 seconds in the game because the clock hit zero.
Yeah, because the clock hit 0, yeah.
Yeah, and they won, and they covered the spread with Coach
That
Mike
was a
Leach
crazy that was a
smiling
crazy
about it.
boring game.
Oh, I know, but I was so into it just because I wanted them to win so bad.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that was awesome to see. But
that
yeah,
was
man, we got the Dogs going back to back. We do think TCU's got a fighting chance in this game. I wouldn't say write them off completely, but I also would not be surprised if this game did get ugly. But I also wouldn't be surprised if TCU won. There's a lot of different ways it can go, man. Um, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited for it. Flying out to Los Angeles early in the morning, so it's going to be interesting. I'll make
That
sure.
should be fun.
Well, Jansen, that means you're going to have to be rocking the Twitter during the Natty. So
Oh, I'll be rocking the Twitter, trust me.
yeah, man. Yeah, I know. But
I'll be rocking.
is there anything else you need to add, brother? Or you just want to go full screen for a second, or what?
I mean, not much. I mean, I'm excited for Monday. I'm excited for today with NFL. I mean, we got a good little 3-day stretch here of great football. So,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah. I'm
know,
about to go hit the links here in a little bit.
let me
So yeah, it's perks of living in a golf course neighborhood now. So
shout out Reunion.
yeah, we're a good old reunion. Yeah, man, I'm excited for this Monday. I think it's also absolute communist that this game isn't being played today. Why is it being played on a Monday? God knows
Yeah,
why. No tailgating. There's a lot of stuff I disagree
no
with.
Uga.
Yeah, no Ugga, but I'm very thankful I am going to go. Uh,
Hey,
so
you're gonna get to see a sick stadium,
yeah, yeah.
like an
Second time in
absolute
California. So both times
crazy
for a Georgia
stadium.
football game. That's crazy. Um, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I do want to say one thing. I just want to say, Damar Hamlin. Anybody else watching that Monday Night Football game last week? That was scary. He essentially was this close to death multiple times, and now he's up and walking. I know we tweeted something out about it, but that's awesome, man. I'm so
No,
proud of
that's great
you.
news.
And like, I'm glad to see that as a football community, we could all come together regardless of, whatever
Who you
whatever
root
ethnicity.
for and
Yeah. Yeah. So that was awesome. Shout out to More Hamlin. We were big
praying
praying
for
for
you.
you, man. And
Yeah.
you know, we're excited to see where that leads. And yes, we will be doing some NFL stuff here soon. So just be on the lookout for that if you do like NFL football.
All I gotta say is hammer the Bills.
Hammer the Bills.
Hammer the Bills, man.
But anything else you need to add, brother?
Nothing much, man. I mean,
All
I
right.
can't say it enough. I'm excited. I appreciate everybody that's stuck around with us this year. It's been a fantastic year and can't wait to get back into it in the
Yeah, it's been
offseason.
a great year of college football. Great year one for this podcast. Excited for the game on Monday. Sad to see the season go, but the Going for Two pod ain't going anywhere else. We thank you for all of your love and support, your comments. Don't forget to comment on this one. Leave it a like. Tell your mama's friends, dogs, neighbors, babies, aunts, uncles, whatever. Tell them to subscribe to the Going for Two podcast. We got some good stuff coming for 2023, and we
It's
love
gonna be
you
a good
all.
year.
Thank you very much. God first. God bless.
Thank you, guys.